Hi guys, welcome to another episode in this series where I speak about my weekly update on a GLP-1. Now, for those of you who are new here, let me do some housekeeping. Always forgetting that part because we are so familiar now. We are like families and besties at this point. For those of you who are new here joining me for the first time, I'm Shelly. This is Conversations with Shelly, and this is a part of my channel that um, chronicles my journey on AGLP1. If you go back and look at all the videos that I have had so far, I would have given you some context as to why a GLP1 was something that I looked into, um, and something that has now shaped my entire knowledge and understanding of our bodies, our ability to process food or relationship with food, as the case may be, understanding obesity as a disease, like any other chronic and progressive disease. And this is something that it's no longer a matter of theory in my mind. It's now something that is very much real and something that I myself have suddenly gotten the light go off, in the dark room kind of a moment. And I'll give you some more insights on what it is that um, cause the lights to, be switched on. But also, for those of you who have been here for some time, at least where I'm at now, I'm on week 20. I'm on week 28, 29, but we'll be updating you on week 28. For those of you who are here for at least 28 weeks with me going through this journey, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking and staying. So, as you would by now know, I have gone into um, maintenance. I have officially put myself into a maintenance phase. And I want to say put myself in a maintenance phase because nobody knows your body better than you do. And while we can have doctors that we talk to, and while we can have providers that we talk to, the reality of it is that you can only tell them what you're feeling and they can guide you and provide you with that guidance that is necessary. But ultimately, you are the ones who should be driving those conversations and should really be telling your doctor what is going on. As usual, this is not medical advice. This is, of course, my experience on a GLP-1 for medical reasons, as well as just overall need for longevity and knowing the power that this medication has been doing in so many lives within this space and others, that I've decided to make this part of my own personal experience. So once you're here, my experience, my personal journey, and of course, my hopes and desires for you would be always to consult with your medical doctor and your provider. So, as I would mention, I am now in week 29, completed 2 solid weeks of maintenance phase. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about my reasons for going into maintenance, albeit a lot of it had to do with reaching a desired um, weight or size, whatever is most fitting. But more so, it was about reaching that point of my journey that I no longer needed to lose um, weight in that drastic way that I initially needed when I started in August of last year, of 2025. So, being now in week 29, I've decided that I will be giving you updates on week 27 and week 28, which would have registered um, my first 2 weeks in maintenance, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. And this may be your experience, it may not be, but at least you will have an idea as to what the expectations are. So my week 27 on my first week of maintenance um, started on the 6th of March, and it actually ended on the 12th of March, right? And throughout that particular week, I would have started on, and I would have not, I would have started my maintenance on a 5 milligram um, dose, which would have been me titrating down from a 7.5 milligram from my weight loss dose to know my maintenance dose. Now, I thought this was something that would have been appropriate for maintenance because, of course, I would have been at that size or that weight that I thought I don't need to go any further based on my BMI, my height, my age, and all of that. So I thought titrating down, of course, having a conversation with my doctor, I thought titrating down to 5 milligram would have been you know, the best thing to do. And there is no right or wrong way to go about maintenance. It's a personal choice, it's a personal decision that, of course, as I said, you have the conversation with your doctor. But ultimately, it is something I like to think of maintenance or going into the maintenance space of a GLP-1 as trial and error. And I'm going to tell you it's trial and error because really and truly, you don't know what will work until you try it and it doesn't work and then you try something else, right? So that has been my experience over the last 2 weeks. So as I said, I started my maintenance on the 6th. First week ended on the 12th. And when I started, my lowest weight on a GLP-1 was 145.8 pounds. And at this point in time, the point 0.8 pounds don't even count anymore. But of course, in the initial stages, they did make a difference. You wanted to talk about those losses even to the very ounce, right? But as you get to your goal weight, or as you get closer to your goal weight, you realize that, hey, I can just keep the number as a whole, not having to go into the decimals and all of that good stuff. So I have my lowest weight on my GLP-1 journey ending at 145. I somewhat, fluctuated between 145 and 148 and have been doing so for the last 2 weeks. And my thought about this fluctuation is that once I don't go back up into the 150s, then I can I can saddle right about, here for some time. So being the lowest weight at 145, that was awesome when I saw that number. And that was one of my drivers into going into maintenance. So I went into maintenance at between 145 and 148. And more so on the day of the 6th, I weighed in at 149.8. No, I always register my mood on a GLP-1 because one of the things that I learned very earlier on is the importance of understanding how the medication can affect your mental capacity, being a side effect of the drug. So I've always tried to register how I am feeling emotionally on the medication to see if it really is a side effect that impacted me or if it's just general everyday life that is lifing. And I'm glad to say, for me, my emotional thermometer had nothing to do with the medication. Weeks when I was at my lowest in terms of mood, it was because of something happening in my professional space or in my personal life. But certainly I could not attribute it to the medication itself. That I know other persons feel depression and anxiety and other things that are associated with their mental state, right? So over time, at least within these last 6, 7 months, I honestly could not and cannot attribute any of my mood swings or fluctuations to the medication. I always have a reason and justification as to why I was either feeling up, down, or in between. Suffice to say, my energy level for the entire week, 6th to the 12th of March, was on average 3 out of 5. Now, again, I have noticed that no matter what my food intake is, protein wise, or water, or any other combination of hydration plus protein and fiber, my energy level is pretty much always on some amount of high. I'm never at a point where I am extremely fatigued, save and except for the very first maybe 2 weeks that I went on the medication when I just started. So my energy level on average usually is about 3 out of 5, 4 to 5, right? Um, Typically for the week, I try to have as much water and electrolytes, hydration as possible. And typically on a day-to-day basis, I would have maybe a 40 ounce of water daily. And as I said, I usually measure it by the 40 ounce tumblers that we carry around. Most of us do have one of those. So I would normally go through that on a daily basis, and usually that's a 40 ounce. So I can tell you I'm normally having 40 ounces of water daily. On that day, I took my medication. Of course, it's compound, and I did it at a reduced dose of 5 milligram. Now, when I did that, I honestly was hoping that I would have been able to function on the 5 milligram, having titrated from 7.5. I was really hoping that I would be able to still not have the food noise or still have still have my appetite suppressed significantly where I'm not craving anything in particular and I was just eating because I was hungry. But that was not what happened. That was not what happened. The honest to God truth is that the 5 milligram hit me like a bag of brick. Um, I was hungry. I was looking for everything to eat. I was looking for things that I hadn't eaten in months. Suddenly started to look very attractive. Um, and it was alarming to me some of the stuff that I was having in my first week of maintenance. Like that switch that was turned off for so many, many weeks was turned right back on. I was wanting everything and anything to eat. And that concerned me, but I struggled through because I was I was waiting for my body to acclimatize again to the dose reduction. So I went through pretty much hoping and praying that I didn't have to maintain at a 7.5. Now I don't know why I thought if I wasn't able to that this was some moral failing on my part, but I quickly got myself together and realized, listen, if you have to go back to 7.5, this is not a moral failing in any way. You're just listening to your body. So I went through the week as I tried. And as much as I tried, it didn't happen. Now, let me just give you an idea as to what are some of the things that I had for the week. So, started off, immediately I realized that something was off because I was drinking coffee again. I was also having breakfast. And now breakfast is now a staple in my maintenance, which before on my journey, my GLP-1 journey, I mean my weight loss journey, I didn't require breakfast, nor did I require coffee. I would have gotten up, started my day, and my first meal of the day was maybe like at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. On maintenance, 5 milligram titration, I got up, I needed to eat. So I knew something was off. Anyway, as I say, I power through the week because I say I'm gonna figure this out if this is a dose of maintenance or if I need to go back up. So I was having my coffee and I started to say, okay, let me focus more on protein because if the food noise is now back at such an alarming rate, then might as well me increase my protein. So your girl was having 3 boiled eggs. I never had to do that in all the 6 months that I was on GLP-1 for. Your girl started to boil eggs in the morning, had my 3 or 4 boiled eggs, had a ham slices with a cup of coffee. Of course, no carbs, right? And by the way, guys, it's not that you can't have carbs, but I personally was never a carbs girl to begin. I just never loved bread or dumpling or any of those things. So, went through the week, Had a lot of eggs, lots and lots of eggs. Every morning I had 2 or 3 eggs. Then as week 1 of maintenance progressed, I realized that the food noise was just knocking louder and louder and louder. Like I kept telling myself, I'm not even opening the door for you, you know. Not even opening the door for you. Could knock and knock and knock till the cows come home. She's not opening the door. I fought real hard. I fought really hard. I got through the week with my eggs, my protein. I increased my protein intake and I fought. Um, I on the 10th of of March, because remember I started on the 6th. No, I skipped a couple of days because from the 6th to the 9th, I did experience some weight loss. I think on the 9th, I came as low down back to 146.8. But I was going through it, guys. On the 10th, I went back to my previous weight when I ended my weight loss journey on a GLP-1 at 145. So on the 10th of the 3rd, I went back to that 145. But on the 11th, I don't know what I had. No, that's not true. I know what I had. On the 10th, when I was at my lowest weight, I had curry goat, fried chicken, and rice. And that's when I knew that the noise was back. Because I don't normally have so much food ever, at least for the last 6 months. So I knew something was wrong. Anyway, I went ahead with it. I just let my body do what it wanted to do. I just ate. Yeah. And by the time I woke up on the 11th, I gained 2 pounds. I was 147.8. Still below 150, so wasn't too alarmed, but still trying to figure out how maintenance is going to look like, what maintenance is going to look like for me. So even though I was going through this new phase of my journey, I was still trying to understand what it is that needed to be done in order to maintain at 145. Yeah. And I knew from the week was out that 5 milligram was not gonna cut it. Anyway, she proceeded, she continued, and I ended the week of the 27th, first week on maintenance at 147.8, pretty much 2 pounds down from the previous week. So 2 pounds down from my starting weight on week 27. So here comes week 28. So I decided that I was going to start week 28, week 2 of maintenance again at 5 milligrams, even though I went through complete torture for week 27. But something in the back of my mind said to me, try maintain at a lower dose. I don't know who said that would fit for everybody, but I tried it. It didn't fit for me, and I learned my lesson real quick. And for my maintenance, I am going to maintain my dose as if I was on the weight loss phase. So week 28 started on the 13th of the 3rd and it ended on the 20th. I think it ended, it ended on the 20th, which was yesterday, which was today. But I took my shot early, so you can imagine. So I actually ended week 28 on the 19th. So I started, let me do that again. Week 28, I started on the 13th and I ended on the 19th. I took my shot on the 19th. I ideally should have taken my shot on the 20th. I usually take my shot every Friday. But she just couldn't do it anymore. So I started on the week 28 on the 13th at a 5 milligram. Even though I just went through a torturous week on 5 milligram, survived it, but still. And what I recorded was that this was a struggle week for me. I stalled. My satiety was a 5 out of 10. The food noise was a 7 out of 10. And I decided that I'm consuming way too much for maintenance, meaning way too much food for maintenance, which would have meant that I could potentially be gaining and not maintaining at 5 milligram. So I called my doctor. I said, hey, listen, it's not working out. This 5 milligram did its thing. It did what it was supposed to do during my weight loss phase, but it's surely not doing it for the maintenance phase. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to do a split dose. I'm going to do 5 milligram today, and I'm going to do 2 milligram or 2.5 milligrams somewhere in the middle of the week. And that's exactly what your girl did. And she went right back up to 7.5 for week 28. So I did that on the 15th. So I did my 5 milligram on the 13th of March. And when I saw that it wasn't keeping the body where it needs to be maintained, and the food noise where it needs to be maintained, on the 15th I took another 2.5. Yeah, took another 2.5 because when I look at my weekly intake of food, it was getting ridiculous. The sheet, each period of food to have was just the list was just increasing. I had spicy chicken sandwich, spicy wings, tomato salad, protein shake. Never in my wildest imagination would have had that. Jerk chicken. I was just going on. I was having yogurt. I was having sweet potato, stewed chicken. I was just going, guys. I was just really going on with the food. Things that I wouldn't have had in months. I was having, and then this went on and on. I'm just gonna show you. Yeah, you know my tirzepatide journal. I haven't shown you this in a while. Tirzepatide journal. Do do you see? Do you see the amount of eating that is happening? I wonder if you don't see it. Can you all see? Oh gosh, she was just eating away. And that's the disease of obesity. The disease of obesity, you see, it starts in the brain, and the brain feeds the gut, or tells the gut, sends signals to the gut to tell you that you need to go eat because you're hungry. And in the brain and gut of a non-obese person, which is somebody that doesn't have an obese gene, they would eat something and nothing. There's no communication between the brain and the gut after they've eaten. They've eaten. They don't have the obesity gene. They just eat and they go about their business. And their day is taken up by other activities and other thoughts apart from what next should I be putting into my mouth. In the brain, gut, and body of an obese person who suffers from the condition of obesity, you eat, and all when the food is still on the plate, you're trying to figure out what is going to be your next meal. And that's when I knew that there was such a thing. No, I've always known it. That's when I was certain that there is such a thing called obesity as a chronic and progressive disease because she ate, and while the food was going down she belly, she's wondering what's next. It's serious. To this point, on the 17th of this week, my appetite suppression was at 3 out of 10. She was eating down everything. Nothing was being suppressed. And I said to myself, self, we're not doing this another week. We're not doing this another week. And I tried my best to maintain a diet of eggs, protein, water, and lots of protein and veggies because I just couldn't get the noise to be turned down. The noise was just so freaking loud. That food noise was so freaking loud. It was driving me crazy. Like, I just couldn't understand how the noise came back so alarmingly loud. I was expecting it to creep back in. Like, guys, I was really expecting just to titrate down and just slowly hear the little buzzings. But no, it wasn't just little, wasn't anything little. These were loud noise telling me to go eat something. These were noise waking me up out of my bed to go eat something. And I'm telling you, I have not done that in 6 months. I never felt hungry in my sleep for 6 months. And as soon as I titrate down and say me in a maintenance, I go maintain the weight loss that me lose. And I sleep, me I wake up and I look food for eat. I said, self, get back on your 7.5. Now here's a trick. I took my 7.5 yesterday, which was the 19th of the 3rd. And I don't know what happened between the previous 7.5 and the 2 weeks that I did the 5-4. But the 7.5 seemed like it barely worked too. So I don't know what I triggered in my body because I titrated down to 5 and now trying to go back up to 7.5. That is telling my body that the 7.5 ain't working neither because the noise is not as loud, but it's still nice. It's still, some noise is still there, but guess what? I didn't go up to a 10 in my weight loss phase. I was able to lose over 70 pounds on 2.55 and 7.5. So certainly, I am not going to maintain at 10. That don't make no sense, right? So I will most definitely stick at my 7.5, and whatever noise comes, it's not as loud as the 5, but whatever noise comes, it's going to have to come because I am not going to be losing any more weight. I tell you already what are the implications or the side effects rather that I felt with the rapid weight loss. I'm still trying to recover from the hair loss. As a matter of fact, I went into the store today because I tell you this thing is real. And this is now something that I'm now using for the hair loss because yeah, the hair is shedding more than it needs to. Right? So this is something that I'm now trying new. Um I can't even comment on it to tell you what's gonna happen, but it's biotin and it's supposed to promote hair growth. So let's see. But overall for my last 2 weeks on maintenance, I have decided that there's no way 5 milligram will help me to maintain. So I will certainly maintain at 7.5, and that will be my maintenance dose until I can figure out how to titrate down without, you know, gaining any weight or any damage to any metabolic markers that I was trying to protect. Guys, I know this was a long one. I also know this was quite a mundane one, but I am very tired. I'm tired also. So um apologies for that. I'm usually bubbly, but yeah, this is a tired update. And I think that is it for my week 27 and week 28 maintenance. Week 2, combination of 5 milligram and 7.5, but I'm landing and sticking at 7.5. So until I see you next week when I give you updates on week 29 and how my full dose, not a split one this week, but I took a full dose of 7.5 this week. And I will tell you how that goes next week when I'm in week 30. Thank you as always for sticking, staying, or just joining for the first time on my GLP-1 journey. And if you want to see where I'm coming from, feel free to go. I've archived them for you. You can go and binge on the last 28, at least 26 weeks. So until I see you next week, do take care, be good, be kind, and be grateful. and I'll see you next week.